Greetings, movie land. I'm the Lizard King, Cinemacallie, and today we are talking The Doors. That's right, Oliver Stone's film The Doors, finishing out Music Month. Here we are, number 4, volume 4. I've been very excited to get to this one because I have a little story about this one. So I saw this many years ago, and I remember really enjoying it. And it got me into the music, and of course I obviously love listening to The Doors. I've always been a big fan of their music, and this was one of the few biopics where I was like, yeah, that was pretty good. So in the lead up to this retrospective series, I watched it. And I came out of it very and I just don't know if it was the mood I was in or what, but honestly, for that viewing, I was not a fan, and I wasn't sure what I was going to say in this video and how I was going to organize my thoughts, because I was just like, this isn't what I expected at all. And so my thoughts for that viewing real quick was that I thought it focused way too much on Jim Morrison, and just hang on with me. I know I already probably confused a lot of you who've already seen this film, but just hang with me for a minute. So I thought it focused way too much on him, and I thought the music really took a back seat. There were some plot things that I thought, some scenes that we kind of hung on for a little too long instead of we kept moving along. And the thing that I was on the same for both viewings was Val Kilmer. So I'll just get this out of the way. Val Kilmer is incredible in this film. He completely disappears into being Jim Morrison. It really is amazing how much he disappears into this role. And he does the live singing as well, and it's just amazing. I would argue that this is probably Val Kilmer's best performance. I cannot think of anything else that he was better in this. And granted, I haven't seen everything that he's been in, but the things I have seen him in, this was my favorite performance of his, and I think his best performance. He is incredible as Jim Morrison. And I would think that would be because they are both kind of weird dudes. And so I could totally see Val Kilmer connecting with Jim Morrison on the whole, like, poet, artist, no one understands, you know, we're all slaves to a system. Like, I could just see it. They really were a perfect match, I feel like. And the film really reflects that. So anyway, that was my thoughts on my first viewing. So then I rewatched it again after a couple days. I kept thinking, I wanted to give myself a day or two of kind of digesting and thinking on the film after my first viewing. And then the more I kept thinking about it, I was just like, man, I probably need to see this again, because I felt like I was missing something, or I don't know. I just felt like I needed to see it again. So then I watched it again, and I have completely 180'd on this. I loved this film. I guess I was just not in tune with my old self on that first viewing, because when I watched this years and years ago, I remember really liking it. And so this time, I really liked it. So much so that to me, I'm just gonna show my hand. This is probably the gold standard of biopics to me. At least musical biopics. For one, I really want to commend the rawness of the film. And how realistic it was, and how it wasn't afraid to show that Jim Morrison wasn't that great of a guy off stage, and he really kind of screwed over his bandmates because he just couldn't clean up his act, and he's just lost himself. And honestly, if Jim could have cleaned up, I really think the Doors could have had a heck of a career if he just could have cleaned up. And so yeah, the movie really reflects that. And it also kind of felt like a train wreck in a way too, on that second viewing, where it's just like I could not look away. This isn't a fun watch, especially for anyone who's struggled with addiction or drugs and alcohol, or people who just don't want to see that. You're probably either just not going to want to see this, or it's going to be a pretty rough watch for you. And it is pretty rough in parts, and just seeing how stardom and money and popularity and people literally worshiping you, and what that could do to someone who is unstable and just really needed some help, I think. But it was an excellent movie. I also want to say this is the gold standard for crowd scenes. So since I've been watching so many of these recently, I've started to be looking at the crowd scenes and really seeing how each movie kind of does them. And like we had Straight Outta Compton, where it's just kind of a smaller stage. There's maybe about 100 people there, but it's real. And then when you get the bigger scenes, they're all CGI'd crowds, and you can tell. Bob Marley is the same thing. Some of those crowds looked really rough, really CGI'd. And then you had Walk the Line, where the crowd scenes in that one was actually pretty good and looked, because they had real people there. But the crowd scenes for this movie is nuts. There are hundreds of people in these scenes, and it looked like a real concert in scenes. It was nuts. I cannot believe how well shot and just how great those crowd scenes were. And seeing Jim Morrison and the band playing on there, it's just, oh, those scenes are incredible. I would say if you're not going to watch the movie and you're at least curious, I would say look the crowd scenes and the concert scenes up for the movie. And so yes, I really enjoyed this movie. There was also great acting from Meg Ryan. I really liked her in this, and I honestly completely forgot she was in this. And I really liked her in this, and I don't know why she didn't stick with me as much in the original viewing, but I still really liked her in this. And the rest of the band is also played really well, and the lookalikes on them are great, and the fact that it's all live music and everything, and just the story behind it too, because this would be something that I would recommend to people, that if the music isn't your favorite but you can tolerate it, you might get a lot of enjoyment of just watching what the worst possible things could happen to a rock star, and just what it could do to someone. And the utter train wreck of the whole ride is honestly something that is very hard to look away from. But overall, this is a very well-crafted film. Absolutely loved it. And yeah, really the only complaints that I still have are that there were some scenes that were a little too long. And honestly, Val Kilmer's performance is so powerful and just overtakes the whole film that honestly the rest of the performances, except for maybe Meg Ryan, kind of do get lost in just how much Val Kilmer commands the screen and your attention. So it does kind of lose a point there for me. But my rating for this would be a 9 out of 10. That is correct. I enjoyed it that much, and I think you guys should go check it out. And with that, Music Month is coming to an end. I'm sorry that the releases were a little staggered, but like I said, like any good rock star, I think you got to be late to a gig at least once or twice, right? So yes, and look forward to more videos in the future. And I may do more of these. I don't know. I'm not sure. I did have a really good time with this. But with that, guys, I'll see you in the next one.